So it's fall, and one of the things I love doing is going out to a farm or pumpkin patch and getting some pumpkins. Look at this beautiful one, green and orange poking through behind it. I love their colors. I love this change of season, the leaves falling. I think you can make pie out of these, but I've actually never tried. I usually just carve them up. But as Mike pointed out a couple weeks back, these big fruits here wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the presence and the activities of those little creatures that we talked about earlier, and that is bees and other insects that move pollen around. So pollination is one of these important services that naturally occurring organisms carry out that benefit us. But where do these bees come from? Where do they actually live? How is it that they can do what they do so that we can actually benefit from them? One of the things that we're going to talk about in this week's lesson is what it means to take a landscape perspective on agriculture. It turns out a lot of these organisms that are really important to us, and a lot of the processes that actually happen as we do agriculture, transcend the boundaries of an agricultural field. The effects go beyond just an individual farm and affect neighboring farms and affect other places that are even not farms. And vice versa. Things that are really important to agriculture actually depend on a lot of other things that occur outside of the farm. And so thinking about agriculture just as something that takes place on a farm is not sufficient to understand the impacts of agriculture and how we manage our landscapes and our agriculture within them. So that's what we're going to talk about this week.
So what's a landscape anyway? Each of us probably has some sort of intuitive notion of what a landscape is. For some of us, it might be a landscape painting. It's called a landscape after all. Or maybe it's the orientation of the paper in your printer. Or maybe it's your yard. Some of us landscape our yards. Or maybe it's just something out there. How about we go on a drive and see if we can look at some landscapes and maybe think about them in a slightly different way.
This looks like a landscape. Here's another landscape. Landscape. This is the landscape. Now that's a landscape.
All right, now think about what we just saw. You see this every day. We drive around, we kind of take for granted the surroundings we have around us. But at its simplest level, what each of these different landscapes have in common is that there are different elements that are there. Some have forest, some have agriculture, some have urban areas, and there's variability in those elements. Some have different kinds of agriculture represented. Some have a juxtaposition of urban and natural areas. Maybe there's differences in how much cropland is out there or how much grass. And this variability makes a difference. It makes a difference in the ecological interactions that play out.